Hello and welcome to the Big Jake podcast. I am Big Jake Hovis. We're going to talk some comedy. We're going to talk some books, and just have a good time. That's the goal here. Tell you a little about what's been going on in the life of a comedian that is not famous or even, getting booked all that often. I mean, there's plenty of bookings, but every comedian's like, yeah, we could use a few more. But I've got a couple of cool things that have happened. I got a couple of cool things that are coming up, and I'm looking forward to it. So we'll get started here. It's Sunday morning. It's March 26th, 2023, which is the perfect time to start a podcast, I would say, in the middle of or near the end of March. And not enough comedians have podcasts. More comedians need to share their thoughts. That's really what it comes down to. And since I woke up a little too early today, and I have, about another hour before I have to leave for church, might as well. So we're along for the ride. Let me tell you about a few things that have happened recently in my world, my comedy world. Last week, I was in New Orleans. I just got back to New Orleans a couple of days ago. I went there for the World Series of Comedy. I really like the World Series of Comedy, and I kind of hate it. It's this bizarre relationship where the guys that run it, Joe and Jason, and the hosts, David and Kevin. I mean, all of the guys involved, all of the people I've met, all of the networks, the opportunities to perform in different cities, all of it, I really, really enjoy. The part I don't like is the competition. And it's like inherent to the system is you have to have the competition. Otherwise, it's not the World Series. You have to have winners and losers. And I have never moved forward. I think the absolute very first World Series of Comedy event I went to was in Colorado Springs at Looney's. I was part of the wild card on a Wednesday, the wild card round, and I didn't move forward. But the guy who did move forward couldn't take the spot. So they scrambled. They found out that I was, at the time, living in Denver, so I was a local-ish guy, and said, hey, can you come back out and do another round? And that was the very first time that I performed twice in one weekend at the World Series of Comedy. Most of the time, it's just the one. Now, the feedback that they give you is great, and like I said, the people that you meet. What it is I think it's just inherent to being a comedy competition. You perform in a more robotic way. You don't want to do any crowd work, any engagement. The part that I found frustrating this time that I don't remember finding frustrating was the audience was very cold from right from the beginning. But one specific thing. So in between the comedians, the audience is directed on their phones to vote 1 to 5 for each comedian. I was the second comedian. So they had the host, I'm not counting that guy. Then they had the first comedian, and then I was the second. Well, in between the first and the second, that's the first time the audience has to vote. And so this is the first opportunity. So when I'm walking onto stage, the entire room is looking at their phone. it's real weird. Because most of the time that doesn't happen. Most of the time, like if you enter the stage, especially if you're a big, handsome man like me, you enter the stage and people are looking at you. But here I entered the stage and they're like, how do I vote again? It was weird. So I didn't love that. Now, not to say I didn't get laughs and I didn't, have a fun time. Got to go to New Orleans, perform in New Orleans. I'm going to put another pin on my map, which is exciting. But yeah, a little touch and go. I mean, it is what it is. Last night, I went to the new club in town. So here in Louisville, Kentucky, we have several comedy clubs, and it's really cool that we're adding more. We have Planet of the Tapes, which is a weird name, but it's a really fun club. We have the Caravan Comedy Club, which is also real fun club that I play a lot. There's the new club, that's just what we usually call it, which is the Louisville Comedy Club, which is downtown. And then there's a brand new club that has officially not even opened yet. It's called Laugh Louisville, and it is affiliated with Laugh Boston. And it is in this kind of touristy part of downtown Louisville called 4th Street Live. And it's on the second floor, but it is a beautiful room. It is set up exactly like you would want a comedy club to be set up. And last night and the night before, Friday and Saturday, they had their soft opening. And they invited some local comedians, doing a little bit of time, just to kind of stress test it a little bit. It's not officially open until April 1st. So that's pretty cool. I'll talk more about that in just a second. Last week, the week before that, was St. Patrick's Day, which is, a good day to do some comedy. And it was a little frustrating. Had one of those times when seemed like I couldn't put anything on the calendar, and then all of a sudden I could put too much on the calendar at the same time. This is a guy, Ray, real nice guy. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with a disease and had a tour planned for Louisville. Couldn't make it. Eventually, he got in contact with me and said, hey, you want to take over these shows? And so I took over the shows on the 17th and 18th. One was at Mile Wide, and one was at Goodwood, both breweries here in town. And they were good shows. It was fine. The part that is frustrating is I had that weekend open for a long time, and then all of a sudden I get these two shows, and I'm going back and forth with the breweries and trying to book comedians to fill out the show, and it was a little tricky. And then the owner of Comedy Off Broadway in Lexington calls me and says, hey, can you host this weekend for Josh Blue? Well, that would be awesome. I'm a big Josh Blue fan. He's from Denver. I'm from Denver. He's very funny. I'm very interested in doing that, but I'm like, I'm booked. Now, it ended up being great because not only were these bar shows in town, so that's a lot easier to travel to, but I headlined them. I put them on, so who am I going to get to headline besides me? And I was able to do over 40 minutes on both of these shows, and that's pretty not rare, but it's nice when you're able to do 40 minutes. The first show on the St. Patrick's Day, I dressed up. I had a light up fedora. Not a good look. Didn't feel real cool in my light up fedora. It was a bad idea. And the show was okay. The next night, I didn't wear the fedora. It was at Goodwood. The place was packed, and I had an absolute blast. Loved it. Thought it was great from start to finish. I did over 40 minutes. Sold some koozies, which is always fun. And really thought it went well. So it's always fun to do a show and also do a good show, and do a long set. But I've got a couple of fun things coming up. Like I said, Laugh Louisville is just now opening. Well, on the 31st, so on Friday, just a couple of days, I will be part of the next installment of their soft opening. So they open for real on April 1st. On March 31st, I will be hosting a soft opening where local comedians will come and they'll do some time to try to get the bar and get the show and get the club ready. And so it'll be my first time on the stage, and I'm excited because I went there last night and it's a good stage and it looks a lot of fun. But the one thing that I'm really, really looking forward to, this thing came pretty recently, but I'm really, really looking forward to, is April 1st. I'm headlining Fort Wayne Comedy Club, which is very exciting because it's a club I've been to as part of the World Series of Comedy, in fact. And I reached out to them. The owner there, very nice guy, Michael, very nice guy. He was looking for a feature. He was looking for a clean feature, and those are rare, and I'm one of them. And I reached out to him, even though I said, hey, I'm not available on the specific day that you need, but if you're looking for the future, I'd be happy to come out. And he says, hey, you want to headline April 1st? Which, even in the comedy world, it's still April 1st. Right, your first thought is he screwing with me? Is this going to be some elaborate, hey, you're going to headline, but not really? Now, he's not that kind of guy, and I know he's not that kind of guy, but until I saw it on the website, I didn't believe it. So I found a guy to feature, Emmanuel. He's out of Indianapolis. Fun guy, very funny. He's going to come feature for me. We're going to do 2 shows on April 1st, and I'm looking forward to it. As part of that, I thought it would be beneficial to, I've been running some Facebook ads to try to get a good crowd, but I also thought, like, I need to have some sort of merchandise. And I've been trying a couple of different things. For whatever reason, I felt really, I don't know, I just didn't like the idea of doing t-shirts just because you have to deal with sizes and it seems like a headache. But, t-shirts, not only do they sell, but they're fun. That's what I would want if they came in my size. So I talked to my wife, and she's been ordering t-shirts for her job, and somebody local here in town is able to get them at a reasonable price, and she's a graphic designer, so we actually designed a shirt. Very cool design. I'm totally into it. And looking forward to see if people like it. But we're going to do just 20 shirts, bring 20 shirts to the show on April 1st, see how it does. We'll figure it out. But I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. I am also looking forward to Tuesday. So just a couple of days from now is an event called The Moth which is a storytelling event. It's not a comedy event. But I've been reading a lot of books on how to tell stories. It's something I want to get better at. It's something I see as the way that the comedy world is moving a little bit more towards stories. And something that I'm not great. I'm not a storyteller comedian. I'm an anecdote guy. I'm not a one-liner. I'm not a story guy. I'm in between. And like to do a few more stories. So the Moth has an event here in Louisville on Tuesday. I'm planning on going. Planning on having a story and throwing my name in the bucket and seeing if I get pulled. That's how it works. Who knows? Maybe I'll get pulled. Maybe I'll do well. Maybe I'll do terrible. But, it'll be a learning experience. I've told myself that I want to go to these Moth events. They have one a month in the town, in Louisville. I want to go to these Moth events for the next 3 or 4 months and put my name in the bucket and write the stories and see if I can do this. If nothing else, it's a challenge, and looks like a good time. In that vein, I want to tell a story right now. So this is not going to be the story I'm telling on the Moth. This is just a story that I've been collecting. I've been collecting stories in my little notebook, and I've been doing some blogging. And this is one of those stories that I would blog about, and probably will blog about. But for right now, I'm just gonna tell you this bizarre story. I think it's relevant because it's talking about the World Series of Comedy, which, if anything, that's what this episode is about. And this happened not terribly long ago. It was in the tail end of a pandemic, right? So at the beginning, a lot of the satellite events for the World Series of Comedy were canceled, and I had planned to go to a lot of them. The main event wasn't canceled, and they still had it. Obviously, if it wasn't canceled, they still had it. Yeah, obviously. Okay, great. But I was going to go out there. Now, at the time, I was living I'd moved to Kentucky. And so I'm going to take a plane from Louisville to Las Vegas for the main event. Now, I am cheap. I mean, a little too cheap. I'm okay with that. I feel like I'm financially responsible. I mean, I do budgeting. My favorite radio personality is Dave Ramsey. I remember getting into Dave Ramsey because I bought a $1,400 car, and it had only AM radio, and I had to tune in to the Dave Ramsey show, and I was super excited when he came on. I'm like, oh man, this is great. And I've been doing the Dave Ramsey stuff, the budgeting every month, and the debt snowball, and all this stuff for years now. And I'm very happy that I've done that. But that also means sometimes I'm cheaper than I really should be. And I've come to realize that a lot of times you spend money on comfort, and if you're cheap, you'll just go without the comfort. You'll just suffer. And that's the vibe that I'm in. That's where I live, is I would rather just suffer. So I'm going out to Vegas for the World Series of Comedy, leaving from Louisville. Got some ridiculously cheap flights on Spirit Airline. The cool thing is it's nonstop. So you just Louisville to Las Vegas to Louisville. But I did not give a whole lot of time in Vegas. I think I was arriving at something like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was leaving the next night at like 11 p.m. So I was in Vegas for less than 24 hours. During that time, check into a hotel, sleep until noon, go to some of the conferences that the World Series of Comedy main event has, and then do the show, come home, right? So one night at the hotel, couple of Uber rides, really cheap flight. Well, I'm thinking, if I'm going to do this, if I'm so cheap that I'm only getting one night at the hotel, if I'm not making this into a vacation, I'm just going to suffer. I'm going on Spirit Airlines. Well, I'm not paying for a bag. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to check a bag because like the tickets on Spirit are $45 and to check a bag is like $50. It's weird. Like, I can get a spot on the plane for cheaper than my bag. That's ridiculous. So I'm not gonna check a bag. But probably should take an extra pair of underwear. I mean, come on. I'm gonna take a shower. Do you really want to do? No, it's a whole thing. So what I did is I got a plastic bag, a Walgreens bag. Now, why did I choose Walgreens? I could have gone Kroger, could have gone Walmart, but I did Walgreens because Walgreens is very high quality plastic shopping bag. It was thick plastic. It was white. It was opaque. It was great. So if you're carrying around a Walgreens bag, nobody, is that guy got, peanut brittle in it? Is it Band-Aids? Nope. It's giant underwear. Just huge pair of drawers. And that was my luggage, is this Walgreens bag. So I'm going to take a 24-hour trip to Vegas, Walgreens bag. Now, I went out there. I had a good time. I enjoyed myself. I don't do Vegas the way that everybody else does Vegas. Most people do something approaching fun. The gamble, I don't gamble. The drink, I don't drink. The go to a restaurant, I went to McDonald's. So it was a weird experience. And the show, because of COVID restrictions, the show was weird. The comics had to wait in the hallway, and so we couldn't watch the show. We could watch about 2 minutes of the comedian who went right before us. We couldn't see who came after us. We couldn't see anything else, just the 2 minutes of the comedian that came right before us. So we could be on the same show as other guys and have no idea what their material's like, what they are like as a comedian, that sort of idea. Well, this actually came into play last week. So I went at this Vegas event. I went up, and the comedian behind me, who got to see about 2 minutes of my material, was this guy named Drew Schaefer. Now, very funny guy, but I didn't recognize him. He apparently recognized me because he was right behind me, but I didn't recognize him because I didn't get a chance to see any of him on stage. Well, he came to Louisville last week, and he contacted a friend of mine, June Dempsey. June got him a spot, a little guest spot on the show at Mile Wide, the show on St. Patrick's Day, where I'm wearing the stupid fedora. And he did a great job. He did 5 minutes, but he crushed. And I was thinking, this guy's in town. He's good. let's throw them up the next day. So I contacted him, threw them up, gave him 10 minutes the next night on the 18th. He did a great job. And I mean, I really wish I would have given him more time because he was great. But he also, complimented me. So that's a good way to get booked. Anyway, to wrap up this Spirit Airlines story, I do my show in LA Comedy Club, which is at the Strat in Vegas. Jump in an Uber, take it to the airport. I've got my Walgreens bag with my dirty underwear in it, and I'm going to the Spirit Airlines, and I get a seat, and it's way in the back. I'm in my own row, and it is way too small, like way, way, way too small. I'm 6'8". I mean, airlines are always going to be too small, but I cannot sit straight, not even close. I have to lean way over to the side, and I have to pull the armrests up, and I have to basically I'm hugging the seat in front of me. It's like I would put it to you this way: get 2 chairs. Sit one chair in front of the other chair and sit in the back chair so that your knees are firm against the chair in front of you. And then move forward 10 inches so that it's way past uncomfortable. That's how I'm sitting. It is insane. Now, the flight attendants see this, and they're nice people. They're not, they're not here for torture. They see me just struggling, and they offer one of the nicer seats. Now, it's a nice seat on Spirit Airlines, so it's not like first class, but it's a nice seat. They offer me one of the nicer seats. However, I am not just tall. I'm also wide. I mean, I'm a curvy dude. And the seats on the plane that has more leg room also have built-in armrests, so that the armrests are not removable. You can't lift them up. It's just firm. So I am too wide to sit in the nice seats, too tall to sit in the bad seats, too cheap to find a better airline. So what do? You suffer is what you do. And that's what I did. I got back. And it's fine. I mean, such is life. Not everybody has everything. So the plane is uncomfortable. Well, I want to talk about some of the books that I'm reading. I have a goal this year of reading 100 books over the course of the year. Here we're at near the end of March, and I'm on 40 books, so I'm well on my way. Now I have a secret goal, which if I say it, then I guess it's less secret. But I have a secret goal of reading actually 200 books. And 200 books would mean at the end of March, I would need to have 50 books done. I'm not quite there yet. So I'm a little behind my secret goal. I'm well ahead of my real goal of 100. So I read a couple of books recently, and I'm in the middle of some other books that I have really enjoyed. I'm the kind of guy who has 5-6 books going on at the same time. For whatever reason, it's just the way it is, the way I enjoy it. I recently read The Deep Blue Goodbye by John D. MacDonald. The reason I did is because it came pretty highly recommended by a couple of authors that I like. Came highly recommended by Lee Child. Lee Child is famous for the Jack Reacher books. And Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs. He also wrote the book The Way I Heard It. Mike Rowe also highly recommended this book, The Deep Blue Goodbye. It's a series with the main character, Travis McGee. It was okay. It was a little wordy. It felt very dated. I don't know. I didn't love it. I don't know if I'm going to give the rest of the series a chance. So, but I read it from start to finish. The story, the action, the events were pretty good. Were fun. Were interesting. The dialogue felt stilted. People were calling each other darling a lot. I've never called anybody darling. I've never heard anybody call each other darling. It just was weird. Why are you calling her darling? That's not a thing. I don't know. I didn't like it. One book that I am enjoying, I'm not done yet, is How to Tell a Story, written by the people from The Moth. Really enjoying that. It's got a lot of insights on how to craft a Moth-like story. I'm probably not going to be able to finish it before Tuesday when I actually try to tell a Moth-like story, but I'm planning on going next month as well, so hopefully I'll learn something. The one book that is frustratingly good, and I'll explain that in a second, is The Motivation Myth. Motivation Myth by Jeff Hayden. Talking about a lot of things, but talking about motivation as not something you need, it's something that you'll get by actually doing, and talking about processes, and basically every other page is worth chewing on. So I can't read it very fast. I'll read 3 pages and be like, man, that was good. I need to go do something. I'm too motivated to keep reading this book. So it's at odds with my goal of reading a lot of books, but it's very helpful in the fact that it's making me motivated and actually learning things. One other book I'll mention that I just got yesterday, picked it up from the library because I'm cheap, is Delete That by John Crist. I've only read the first chapter. Really enjoyed it. Very interesting. I have a feeling that it'll be a quick read. It's well written, and so far pretty insightful. I really like reading books by comedians, whether they're autobiographies, whether they are just the books that they put out. Dustin Nickerson had a book, How to Be Married to Melissa, which is his wife's name, which was very interesting, very fun. Gabriel Rutledge has a book called Happiness Isn't Funny, which he's just doing a one-page, like a little diary entry every day for a year, which is an interesting style. I've also recently finished a book by Johnny Carson, or about Johnny Carson, written by Henry Bushfield or Bushkin, Henry Bushkin, who is his lawyer, and read Don Rickles' book and a biography on Rickles. Read Rodney Dangerfield's book. I've picked up a few other books that I'm hopefully going to get to soon. George Carlin, and a few others that I'm excited to read. But it is fun to read a contemporary comedian. Tom Segura's got a book that came out about just less than a year ago, I would say. I think it's called I'd Like to Play Alone. And that was very, very good. Very interesting. It's cool to see like kind of inside the mind of a comedian that you like and you are interested in. So those are some of the books that I've been reading. I have been on a diet now for too long, since before Thanksgiving of 2021. So it's been a year and a half, something like that, and it's a little frustrating. I've kind of hit a plateau recently in the last probably 6 months. Really been struggling through a plateau. So I haven't been gaining, but I haven't been losing, and it's frustrating because you're still doing the same, diet stuff. Of course, last week I was in New Orleans, and New Orleans is not a great place to diet. So I had a couple of cheat days. One cheat day did biscuits and gravy and a po' boy, which was fantastic. Get some beignets from Cafe Du Monde. Got some shrimp etouffee from a Cajun place. All of it just dynamite. And then the next day, we were driving back, and so got some nice, cheap, ridiculous, just fat guy food, McDonald's. Oh my goodness, love McDonald's. I know it's not cool to like McDonald's, but it's awesome. I know I shouldn't be there, which is part of the allure. We also timed our trip so that we could get some Old Chicago. The Old Chicago in town closed. I think a lot of the Old Chicagos around the country are closing. I think the one in Denver that we used to go to closed. And so my wife and I have been wanting some Old Chicago, but they're all closed. We found one kind of on the way. It was outside of Nashville. We set an alarm so that we would call them when we're about 30 minutes away. Call them, get the pizza, eat the pizza in the car, and just enjoy it. Just carbs galore. Of course, came back and my scale was not too pleased with my cheating shenanigans. But hey, vacation. That's what it is vacation. That's my excuse. So, well, I'm going to finish with this one thought, and it's just a bit that I'm working on. It's a true story, and I'm trying to work it in. I've worked it in a couple of sets throughout the years. Sometimes I've tried it, but it hasn't really worked. The totally true story is I put some YouTube videos on my Facebook and me doing stand-up. This woman who used to date my brother is also a talent agent. This is all happening in Denver. She's a talent agent in Denver. She contacts me and says, hey, you're funny. You're remarkably good looking. I think she said that. And we would love to represent you to see if we can get you some commercial deals. Into it. I'm into it. Well, she ends up getting me a couple of commercials, or a couple commercial opportunities. One actual commercial. I was in a real life commercial. This was a commercial for a wheelchair ramp. And I had no lines. The role was to sit in a wheelchair and have my friend Paul, who it was interesting that I knew the other actor, my friend Paul pushed me in the wheelchair up the ramp while the screen said, good to 500 pounds. You didn't see my face. I was just there. Just a giant dude in a wheelchair. Yeah. So I think that's a fun bit. I think it's an interesting, like, self-deprecating, unique bit. How to make it into a stand-up thing, I don't know. But that's one that's kind of top of the list. I'd like to work that into a routine because I think it's interesting, and that's part of stand-up is being interesting. Anyway, well, it's been fun hanging out with you. Hopefully you're enjoying it. You can catch me on the social medias at Big Jake Hovis. You can also check out my website, jakehovis.com. I've got some blogs there. And check out YouTube. I'm going to throw out some more videos. But yeah, thanks for hanging out.